Hey, Trekkers, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and we come to my fourth and final part review of Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2. Yes. 2 more episodes left, and those, of course, being episodes 9 and 10. Yeah. So, the last 2 episodes for Season 2 of Strange New Worlds. Well, and as I mentioned at the end of my Part 3 review, where, yeah, because, well, one, that was a pretty good way to end off this season, and the fact that it ends off on a cliffhanger. But before that, the second to last episode, because it would feature a good majority of the episode, a lot of musical stuff and such, and you know the drill, just, yeah. And shout out to my mom, as I did at the end of my Part 3 review, where, yeah, because with how she felt towards the last 2 episodes, I'm pretty sure, yeah, as I recall, shout out to my dad, he seemed to have enjoyed episode 9, so, yeah. But, you know, with the first things I have to say about episodes 9 and 10, well, I mean, in my opinion, that goes for both of them, especially episode 9. They were some pretty good last 2 episodes for this season. Now, say what you will about episode 9, I get it. In fact, you know, who'd have thought that we would see Star Trek do something like this? But obviously, there would be an explanation as to why all of a sudden, out of nowhere, pardon my French, you know, why in the hell would characters from Star Trek start singing and such and be a musical? Well, I mean, because of what's out in space and what causes them to sing and so on. But, I don't know, just, they were pretty good. I mean, both episodes, yeah, with what each of them had to offer, being the last 2 episodes of Season 2, with their storylines, their plot, and, yeah, especially because on account of episode 10, where, yeah, because, you know, we end off on a cliffhanger and such, which, yeah, because, I mean, you know, the first season of Strange New Worlds did not end off on a cliffhanger, but for the first time, for this season, it did, and, jeez, because, well, if it's not obvious, because at times in this season, it was kind of building it up, and yeah, because another confrontation with the Enterprise crew coming face to face with the Gorn, just, yeah. But yeah, I mean, just overall, having done a bit of a rewatch just in case, I watched it a few times, and, yeah, you know, overall, they were some pretty good, last 2 episodes for this season. Yep, and just, you know, of course, for episode 10 and how it ends off, and, of course, we had to wait, just about 2 years for the next season, you know, because ending off on that, and we weren't going to expect it sometime the following year, but yeah, anyways. But yeah, just overall, the last 2 remaining episodes for Season 2 of Strange New Worlds, they were pretty good. I quite enjoyed them. And of course, when I talk more about them, as I now am about to begin doing so. And of course, starting with episode 9, which being titled Subpace Rhapsody. Okay, so, description / the story. An accident with an experimental quantum probability field, yeah, I think I said that right, causes everyone on the USS Enterprise to break into song. But the real danger is that the field is expanding and beginning to impact other ships, allies, I think I said that right, yeah, and enemies alike. Okay. Alright, so, now that I've read the description / the story, yeah, let's now dive in / break down episode 9 itself. Now again, because say what you will about episode 9, but I don't know, because, you know, I was prepared. Like, okay, will this appeal to me? Because, you know, I mean, on account of some people, including you and also my mom, because how most people felt about this episode, Yeah, I mean, of course, it wasn't the best one, but a good majority of people, there's been other majority of people, including my dad, that actually did enjoy this episode. But, you know, honestly, I think it's obvious that the Orville would do something like this, right? Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying. However, I mean, because, you know, for Seth MacFarlane not having no clue how to do it, but it should be so obvious how to do it, and so on. You know, even like, I can think of a couple of other shows that have done a musical episode. Well, I mean, it's like, I'm aware of Buffy the Vampire Slayer having done a musical episode, but I've also seen where on the ABC show Once Upon a Time, does anybody remember that they had a musical episode? And yeah, I mean, you know, besides, since that's a fairy tale, and, you know, because you'd expect singing from fairy tales and such, and, you know, the way and how that episode did it in Once Upon a Time, yeah. Some magic and curse, you know, just making everybody sing. Yeah. But, you know, I think for what Star Trek had to offer with their very own musical episode and being in Strange New Worlds, well, it's how it turned out. Not too bad. Like, not really god-awful, but still, you know. And luckily, because, you know, because I wasn't really sure at first. Before I watched the episode where, okay, are they just going to be singing all throughout? Like, not once they're going to speak normal, but no, because they do. They do at times. Only certain moments that occur in this episode where the music begins and boom, they begin to sing. Yeah. All right, anyway, so, yeah, and with the first things I've had to say about episode 9, but also, yeah, I liked it. It was okay, so just so you know, and to get that out of the way. Okay, so, okay, so with the episode itself, well, because, yeah, well, first off, Captain Kirk, once again, boards the USS Enterprise, now an executive officer of the Farragut, and when he shows up on the Enterprise, he's shadowing over, you know, Una and so on, you know. And meanwhile, Pelia, Uhura, and Spock, they're in the middle of, yeah, Uhura especially, discovering a subspace fold. And, with Spock's encouragement, the experiments with it, and hoping to boost communication speed. And by doing so, Uhura plays the song Anything Goes. You know, and I'm sure the same would go for a lot of you. Whenever we would think of the song Anything Goes, we would, of course, think of Temple of Doom. Duh, just... Yeah, that's one of the most memorable things to use the song Anything Goes. But anyways, so because of this, well, yeah, because with Spock attempting to use music, and the same goes for Uhura, she selected the song Anything Goes, yeah, and using the music to communicate through the fold, yeah, well, it triggers a quantum improbability field, yeah, and causing the crew to break into song, yeah. And, might as well go ahead and talk about the songs, because, yeah, well, yeah, the musical confessions, because, yeah, the musical reality forces the characters of Strange New Worlds to express their deepest emotions, and this includes Pike and Batel's relationship issues, especially because, like, planning to have a vacation, or as Star Trek puts it at best, calling it shore leave. Yeah, because, like, was that intentional or not? Because, like, well, because, like, how Star Trek puts at it, vacation, shore leave. I'm just saying, but not that I'm making a big deal about it, I'm just simply saying. And also, Chapel's decision to pursue a fellowship over her relationship with Spock, because with what she's going to be doing next in her Starfleet career and science stuff, yeah. And also, Lalonde, because a moment with her and the song that she has, well, unspoken feelings for Kirk, obviously. Yeah. I will say, because the songs that are in this episode, you know, I mean, I have a few favorites, I'm pretty sure. I mean, if we all do, because, like, you know, I think that the, yeah, I think the first song number, you know, because, status report, especially because, they're all starting to sing, and why are we singing? I mean, that's literally one of the first things that they would do, right? And hey, just like what ABC's Once Upon a Time did, because, yeah, you had Snow and David, singing, and to each other, like, why are we singing? And so on, just, yeah. Status report, like, yeah, that was a pretty good first song for this, and Connect to Your Truth, how would that feel? Private conversation, yeah, the private conversation, and the fact that Battelle once again appearing in this episode, and geez, because, like, wanting to speak to her boyfriend in front of his crew, just like, golly. And yeah, Battelle once again, Melaine Scrofano, I think, yeah, if I'm still getting her full name right. And again, you know me sometimes. And yeah, I mean, because the Enterprise crew, they're trying to ignore it and just like, sorry, Captain, this is like them turning away. That was funny. And moments between Kirk and Una, and because of him shadowing Una, and because of him being executive officer, just, yeah. And because, yeah, Lalanne's song, in my opinion, I think, was probably my favorite, yeah. I don't know, because, well, especially because Christine Chong, I mean, she's got a great singing voice, but, I think, yeah, Lalanne Noonan's sing song was probably my favorite one, yeah. And, like I said, at times where they would speak normally, they would speak and not sing all the time, but, again, at certain moments, they would sing, and when the music plays, as I said earlier. And by the way, because, like, yeah, when, like, Lalanne would then at some point express her feelings, even Una knew and sensed that Lalanne has feelings for Kirk. And don't think, yeah, because sometimes we're not quite good at hiding our emotions and feelings towards a person. Right? Just, yeah. But, yeah. Well, it's not like Una's trying to get to her, just, But yeah, as I was about to say, Lon does finally express her feelings towards Kirk, even talking about the Kirk that she knew in the alternate timeline, in the third episode of this season, and what that Kirk was like to her. And the main Kirk, asking her if he's anything like that Kirk she was with, and her saying both yes and no. She's not wrong, yeah. However, Kirk, breaks it to Lalanne that he's technically already in a relationship with Carol. Yes, we get the mentioning of Carol Marcus. And the fact that she's pregnant. With David, obviously. Nice. Well, I mean, look at this, because, like, as a lot of us recall in Wrath of Khan, how old each Kirk and Carol look in the events of Wrath of Khan, and with David, how old he is. It's obvious that they had David when they were young, and even when, Kirk, he was captain of the Enterprise before the refit, when they were still out on their 5-year mission, obviously. Even Star Trek Phase 2, the fan-made series, if anybody remembers that, doing an episode covering of that, the first encounters of Kirk and Carol, you know what I mean? Just, if you know, so, yeah. So, just to mention it, well, because the fact I'm a Trekker, so... Anyways, aren't we all? Just, alright, when we point out certain things. Anyways, but as I was saying, because, yeah, point being, because, yeah, Kirk breaking it to Lalanne that, yeah, the mentioning of Carol, that she's pregnant, and just, yeah. And Lalanne, I mean, of course, she has to accept the fact with, it's not likely for both of them, and never will be, sadly. Yeah. Alright, also to mention this, like, oh yeah, because with what's going on with Chapel, her decision to pursue a fellowship and over her relationship with Spock, because yeah, how Spock is dealing with that, well, not really showing his emotions, but you can kind of tell. You can kind of see, right? Even in his eyes. And just, yeah, it's quite tough. And, well, when it seemed like that the relationship in a few episodes ago was looking pretty good, well, yeah, kind of mixed and such. Especially on account of what happened in, episode 7. And when Boimir was pointing this out to Chapel, and yeah, Chapel having explained to Boimir that, her being responsible for Spock having emotions, smiling, and so on. But anyway, so, yeah, with that. And also, the Klingon involvement, because, yeah, a Klingon ship arrives and is threatening to destroy the Fold, and which could have catastrophic consequences for the ships caught in the improbably field, if I said that one word right. Yeah, because there's other starships around that sector, so, yeah. And, to speed things up some, because, yeah, Uhura, she would realize that an upbeat song can resolve the situation, and the crew unites in song, celebrating their shared purpose and love for exploration, being a part of Starfleet, the whole meaning of it for them, and so on, And yeah, because they love what they love what they do, why they're a part of Starfleet, and so on, and which this successfully dissipates, if I said that right, the field. Yeah, because everybody getting together, grand finale, and this, yeah, God, I mean, I did know early on that there would be a moment where the Klingons sing. Well, and this isn't the first time that we've seen Klingons sing, okay? They can sing. There's Klingon opera and Star Trek. However, in the case of this, not what I was expecting, because the kind of singing they do, if you know, I was just, it's not that I was, disappointed. I was like, okay, I mean, not to sound negative towards it. I'm just saying, just one of those things you don't expect it, but just, yeah. Maybe, I don't know, because I'm just simply saying that probably the Klingons probably, with them singing for a brief moment, maybe it could have been opera or something, like how we've seen Klingons sing, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, but I don't want to make a huge complaint about how the Klingons sang for a brief moment. But just overall, with the grand finale, this works, and yeah, it's done and over with. They're no longer being forced to sing and such, and each of them hugging one another, and the Star Trek theme plays, da 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 da. That's really awesome. I like that touch there. And even Spock and Chapel, they were this close to hugging, but no, they didn't, unfortunately. And the resolution and aftermath, well, because the episode concludes with Kirk and the crew returning to normal, of course, but with some unresolved romantic tension and questions about the future. But obviously, hopefully, most of them can be resolved. Yeah. But yeah, just, yeah, what an interesting episode of anything Star Trek this was. Am I right? Yeah, because, again, who would have thought? And I don't know if and I don't know because, if Gene Roddenberry would be thrilled about it, but just, I don't know. I'm just saying. But, well, on account of his son, because, his son Rod, what he thought about this. But, overall, for me personally, Episode 9 of Season 2 of Strange New Worlds, yeah, Subpace Rhapsody, well, it is what it is. I don't hate it. It's okay for what it is. Besides, again, why else, there would be an explanation as to why there would be an episode of anything Star Trek where they would, out of nowhere, start to sing, have musical numbers. Well, because of what they discovered out there. And it causes something to, hit the Enterprise and the crew and most of the galaxy, breaking into song. So, yeah. I think some of the songs, maybe not all of them, which I'm probably right on that, but some of them, they were some not bad songs. I enjoyed some of them. And I think, again, primarily, my favorite one would have to be Lalanne's song number. I think that was a pretty good one. Besides, because with the character herself and how she feels towards Kirk, a big thing. Yeah, not to mention, during that song number of hers, she did take out the watch that she had with her that she brought back from the 21st century. Nice. And a bit of flashbacks we get of that episode. That was great. And what else goes on with the characters, from Spock, Chapel, Pike, Batel, Uhura, the Klingons popping in, and all of them breaking down, singing, including the Klingons. Just overall, the episode itself, it is what it is. May not be the best, and yeah, because not something you would expect from, Star Trek itself, where, in Star Trek, the purpose being, to boldly go where no one has gone before, exploring strange new worlds, and new civilizations, and so on. Seek out new life in new civilizations. Could not forget to leave out, new life, but you get my point. But yeah, just overall, I liked Episode 9 of Season 2 of Strange New Worlds for what it is, and that's all I've really got to say. Just, yeah. And bear with me with what I've had to say, in my opinion, on Episode 9. Okay, here we go. The 10th and final episode of Season 2 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which being titled Hegemony. Yes, I did get that right. Okay. Description / the story. When the USS Enterprise investigates an attack on a colony at the edge of Federation space, Captain Pike and his crew face the return of a formidable enemy. Okay, so, Episode 10. So, with what goes on in Episode 10? Well, because, first off, Captain Batel, we actually get to see her do a captain's log, and keep in mind, because, she's the captain of the USS Cayega. Cayega, I think I'm saying that right. And, which is a Constitution-class starship. So, they are on this human colony, this planet with this human colony, which being called the Parnassus Beta. I think I'm saying that right. Again, you know me sometimes. And Chapel happens to be with Captain Batel, and because she's catching a ride on the Cayega to attend to the fellowship and such, and as was established in Episode 9. So yeah, and not to mention, of course, with her taking a ride on the Cayega, she is helping out Batel and the others with what's going on the planet's surface, because, resupplies for the human colony. However, at one point, and even after, there is a moment between Pike and Batel. They're on a video chat. However, the signal is lost. The connection is lost because, the Gorn show up. Yep, because with the episode opening with a Gorn attacking the planet, and, because of this, Batel sending out a distress call, and which is picked up by the Enterprise. And, of course, Pike is definitely going to go to the planet and save not only just all the people there, but, of course, on account of his girlfriend. And also the fact that, Chapel, they know, of course, that she's there as well. So, her too. Everybody, of course. All of the lives there. And, Pike, having informed Admiral Robert April about this, however, he tells Pike and for the Enterprise not to enter and to avoid being in Gorn-claimed space. But Pike, of course, is not gonna take that and accept that and such, and thus, he plans a rescue mission where he is going to lead a team to rescue Batel and the other survivors, and him employing a clever strategy to disguise their shuttle as debris from the USS Cayega, which is also destroyed by the Gorn, because, they discovered that the Cayega, when they arrive at the planet's atmosphere, the orbit of the planet, they can see so much debris, and the saucer section of the Cayega completely destroyed. So, rest in peace, USS Cayega, because being captained by Batel. So, and, of course, we're going to see what's next for Batel by Season 3. But, anyway, so, So this rescue mission, what highlights the crew's resourcefulness, yeah, I think I said it right, and willingness to risk everything for their comrades. And yep, and those that tag along with Pike are Lalonde, of course. Kirk's brother tags along as well, because, Kirk's brother establishing that, when he first encountered the Borg, he was scared. But this time, he's brave enough to take on the Gorn and, by just shooting them. That's all they can really do. So, yeah. Kirk's brother tagging along, George, and, as I said, Lalonde. Dr. Benega, he tags along as well. And Erica. Erica also gets to tag along. And especially since, this is finally her chance to tag along on an away mission because, Pike telling, Erica that she had always been asking and wanting to tag along on these away missions. So, yeah. So thus, she becomes a part of the mission and being the pilot of the shuttle. And yeah, because the sequence where they're flying down in the planet's atmosphere and how very intense Erica is flying the ship. Well, on account that, they don't want them to be discovered by the Gorn's sensors, because out in space there is a jammer device that the Gorn has where, yeah, the Enterprise cannot open frequencies, anything like that, down on the planet. So, yeah. And, of course, those on the Enterprise, Uhura and Penella, they actually, both of them, Penella, they, both of them, try to figure out, especially Uhura, how to take down the jammer of the Gorn. So, yeah. So again, with Erica piloting the shuttle and just flying it so fast, and until at a certain point, yeah, that's when, pull up and just, yeah. And, Erica's got this. I mean, she's been doing this since, well, the Federation and Klingon War. So, yeah, a very skillful pilot. Right next to Sulu. Yeah. But anyways, so there's that, and eventually when they make their way down to the planet, well, because pretty much the majority of the planet and in that town completely burned and destroyed, and and there's no sign of survivors yet. And with them going through this one building up until, when they would come face to face with like one or two Gorns, like they would shoot a young Gorn and such. And even when they hide from a couple of Gorns that, pop in, there is one moment, and to speed things up still, where, well, they find themselves having set off a trap. Basically, they hear and detect presence of life forms, which, being the humans, those on the planet. But, yeah, it was just a device that was making noise, and, yeah, a force field that traps them. Well, basically, if it wasn't obvious, that was for the Gorn. And enter Montgomery Scott. Yes, we finally get Scotty in Strange New Worlds. Yeah, as I recall, because we briefly got a little bit of Scotty. Like, we heard, like, his voice or something, as I seem to recall. Like, especially in the first season. And if you know what I'm talking about, I'm just saying. But yeah, so Montgomery Scott, his introduction, and the fact that, yeah, he set up this device to trap the Gorn, and young Montgomery Scott, well, being called Lieutenant Montgomery Scott, being played by Martin Quinn. Yeah, Martin Quinn, so far, and with this episode, he's no disappointment being young Scotty. Oh, he's really good at playing young Scotty, nailing the specific way Scotty talks with his Scottish accent, the mannerisms, even though, yeah, Scotty's young, still. Martin Quinn, an excellent job so far, being young Scott, officially playing young Scotty in the prime universe of Star Trek. Yeah. Yeah, so the introduction of Montgomery Scott, and this is where, yeah, Scott would first meet most of the Enterprise crew, and, yeah, because, Scotty, who he introduces himself as Montgomery Scott, yeah, well, because this marking his first appearance, and, yeah, and provides fun and unexpected moment for fans. Well, I mean, I was fine with it, but just, yeah. But anyway, so Scotty's presence on the planet, well, his backstory, basically, he was a part of the USS Star Driver and was monitoring solar flares when it was attacked by the Gorn, and Scotty managed to escape in a shuttle after increasing its engine capacity and developing a cloaking device. Young Scott, just very smart at what he's doing, and of course, being, a legendary, would become, I should say, a legendary chief engineer. But yeah, so we have Scott tagging along with the crew, and eventually, they would discover the survivors, including Batel. Yep, a little happy reunion between Kirk and Batel. Batel, telling her boyfriend that, he should not have come. But of course he had to come, just, yeah. But yeah, and still to speed things up some, because back on the Enterprise, well, as I said earlier, Pelia and Uhura trying to figure out how to take down the jammer of the Gorn. And, well, they figure it out, because by doing something strategy. Yeah, I believe, that's the correct word I'm using. And basically, what they're going to do, and the solution, an idea, is to place rockets in what's left of the saucer section of the USS Kyoga. Yeah, I think, am I saying that right now this time? Yeah, the Kyoga? I think so. But again, you know me sometimes. So, yeah, by placing, again, rockets in the saucer section of the USS Kyoga, it will send what's left of the saucer section of the Kyoga to, go straight into the jammer of the Gorns. And that way, of course, it will allow them to transport all of the survivors. Even when, say, they can't use the shuttlecraft that Pike and the others, they came down in, and there won't be enough room, and it's just impossible to try to save all of the survivors. But not until they can find a way to, manage to take down the jammer, and thus use their transporter devices. Anyways. But yeah, and also, there is a moment where Pike does discover something about Batel, because, well, the more help Scotty is to the crew, and because, finding a way to, escape from the Gorn and so on, just, again, with the cloaking technology he used, as I said earlier, with Scotty assisting Pike and his team in returning to the Enterprise by using his cloaking technology, and which will allow them to evade Gorn sensors, because there's a moment where, with Pike and Batel tagging along with Scotty to, get some pieces and so on, and the more moments between Batel and Pike, well, there is a moment where they have an encounter with a Gorn, and the Gorn coming face to face, in Batel's face. But, surprisingly, the Gorn spares their lives, especially Batel. And Pike is very puzzled by this. Because what just happened? Literally. Well, that's when Pike would discover that Batel has unfortunately been infected by Gorn eggs on her arm. Just, But I think it's obvious that, it's not like they're going to kill off Batel quickly and by, the start of Season 3? You know by now, just, So they've got that problem, but, hopefully Batel will pull through this. But just getting the parts that Scotty needs. Meanwhile, because of the idea to install rockets in what's left of the USS Kyoga, well, Spock takes it upon himself because it would be impossible for a human. Luckily, Spock, even though he is human, he's also a Vulcan. So Spock taking the privilege to do this, to take those rockets to the remains of the saucer section of the Kyoga, and little do they know that Chapel has survived. She's still on board the saucer of the Kyoga, because parts of the USS Kyoga, where rooms and corridors, there's no holes or anything like that, and they still have oxygen to them. And I love this detail. Did you guys notice this? Because whenever we would cut back to the the remains of the saucer section of the USS Kyoga, the red alert, it just gets weak and slow. That's pretty cool, yeah. Even the Kyoga's computer having a couple of lines and such, and Chapel having a close call a few times with the Gorn, because there are a few, like, what, 1 or 2 Gorns present on the saucer of the Kyoga, so yeah. And even when, Chapel does see from outside in space that the Enterprise has arrived, I think she was trying to, at one point, get their attention by flashing a flashlight, but that's not going to work. Even when Spock came up to the saucer, and he was just right outside where the window is, where Chapel is, she tried to get his attention, but unfortunately Spock didn't hear, and on account of him wearing a spacesuit. So, to still speed things up some, Spock, he does set up those rockets, and even when, a moment where Chapel, she does put a spacesuit on, and Spock and Chapel, they would cross paths when they would find themselves in the main bridge of the Kyoga, and having come face to face with one Gorn, and, well, seeing the Gorn wearing a spacesuit, and they managed to take down the Gorn by cracking the glass of his space helmet, and eventually the Gorn would die with no oxygen, because, and that's the end of that Gorn. And a little nice reunion between Spock and Chapel, and of course they managed to get out of the saucer section of the Kyoga, and with the rockets activating and launching its way to take down and destroy the jammers. Also, to come back on the planet's surface, Beta. Well, because moments with the characters, like, there's one nice moment between Erica and the Doctor, and Erica, assisting the Doctor to attend to those that need to be wounded and such, to attend their wounds. And with them mentioning about Chapel and, how, it just feels different with no Chapel and such, and what Chapel would specifically say, and in the situation that's happening on the planet. With the people. But and, well, eventually, and because the Gorn's jammer has been destroyed, well, finally, they managed to reach out and able to transport the survivors. Pike, Batel, and Scotty, they're the first 3 to be transported. And, nice reunion between Pike and Chapel, and Pike pointing out to Chapel about Batel needed to be treated and such, and Batel ordering Chapel that if it doesn't work, if it goes wrong horribly, then she wants Chapel to put her out, just have her be executed and so on. But, both Pike and Chapel, they're not going to let that happen. They're not going to give up on Batel. And Scotty, having the assistance with Pelia. Pelia being placed with Scotty to help out with what Scotty's going to do on the Enterprise, with the whole cloaking device, the certain pieces that he has. And, a reunion between Pelia and Scotty, because, well, Scotty was one of Pelia's, students. A good student, according to Pelia, but got so many awful grades and such. Was it not obvious that probably we would expect there to be a connection between Pelia and Scotty? Well, because both of them, they're an engineering business of Starfleet, so just saying. And also, the fact that Batel and Pike and Scotty, they were the only 3 we saw be transported, well, the others on the planet, and those that accompanied Pike, Lalonde, Sam, Kirk's brother, of course, Sam, the Doctor and Erica, everybody, they've been captured. Well, they've been transported, I should say. Transported/captured by the Gorn. Could you not tell by the color of the transport? Yeah, it was green. So there's no way that the color of the transport was coming from the Enterprise. So now they've been captured by the Gorn. Oh, God. Really? The episode had to do that? Well, even at that time when it came out, I'm just saying, now that we have season 3 and from there on, So, with them discovering that they did not transport back to the Enterprise, and, Gorn vessels are approaching, they make their way, firing upon the Enterprise, and Pike having Uhura to send a message to Admiral Robert April about the situation that's going on, and Robert has given them a new order to, well, get out of there. However, on account that they've got, they don't have the other Enterprise crew members along with the people on that planet because they've been captured by the Gorn. And Pike, now in a situation where, what's he gonna do? Is he gonna have the Enterprise leave Gorn territory and not save those that did not get brought back to the Enterprise? And literally, the episode ends off with "to be continued," and we had to wait for season 3 and so on. But obviously, it was worth the wait. Yeah. Jeez, but that was a heck of a great way to end off the second season. Wouldn't you say so? With what episode 10 had to offer? Everything about episode 10 was pretty good. Yeah. Everything that happened in the 10th and final episode, what it had to offer, with the Gorn once again being present and being the main antagonists of this episode of Strange New Worlds, and how most of this season was teasing and building up about, the Gorn returning, and thus the Gorn would in the 10th and final episode. With what goes on with each of the characters, the unfortunate loss of Captain Batel's starship, the debut of Lieutenant Montgomery Scott, the Gorn once again appearing, the human colony on this planet, and what goes on with each of the characters. Batel's life is at stake with being affected by the eggs, Chapel and Spock being reunited, and they seem to be okay, and until, getting to season 3 and what happens from there on, where their relationship stands, basically. What each of these characters were doing, the moments that they have, those that remain on the Enterprise, and those that are on the planet's surface, and just coming face to face with the Gorn, everyone's life at stake because of the Gorn, everything about episode 10, the 10th and final episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Hegemony. I think I might be mispronouncing it some, because I'm just saying, but just again, overall, episode 10, it was a great season finale. It was really good. It did not disappoint. But, just overall, the last 2 episodes of season 2 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, episodes 9 and 10, Subpace Rhapsody and Hegemony, I think I did say that right this time, they were great. They were some pretty good last 2 remaining episodes for this season. Well, Subpace Rhapsody, kind of, and with what I said earlier and how most of you feel about it, but of course with episode 10, definitely, they were both pretty good, in my opinion, and with episode 9, with what the last 2 remaining episodes had to offer, with their storylines, and how the 10th and final episode ends off on a cliffhanger. And just season 2 altogether, it was another pretty good season for Strange New Worlds, and, this being the second season of Strange New Worlds. And I'm giving season 2 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, why not? 8 out of 10 stars. Yes, 8 out of 10 stars for season 2 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. And what about you guys? What did you think of the last 2 episodes of season 2 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, with what each of the last 2 episodes had to offer? If any of you did enjoy and think episode 9 was okay, if you didn't mind that out of nowhere Star Trek for the first time had a musical episode, if you have any favorite songs, favorite moments, but especially with episode 10, what did you think of the 10th and final episode, the finale, and with the cliffhanger, them coming face to face with the Gorn, everything that goes on with the characters, just overall, what do you think? And also, can't forget to mention Scotty's debut. What do you think of that, with Scotty finally debuting? But just overall, and as I was about to say, what did you think of episodes 9 and 10 themselves, with what I've had to say, my 4th and final part review of season 2, and just overall, what did you think of the entirety of season 2? Which have been your favorite episodes? Again, what did you think of season 2 of Strange New Worlds itself? Leave comments and give this review video alike as always. And so, guys, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my Part 4 review, my fourth and final part review of Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2. More review videos are coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I will see you guys in the next video / review. Take care, and until Season 3, peace out, and live long and prosper.